And welcome Shazia and of course Nija, thank you for staying on. Shazia, you heard we were just having a conversation with Supriya Srinete and about being a woman politician and woman spokesperson, which so are you, you have to actually go every day on the television and take on partners who may not just debate with you on point. It gets personal, they become abusive. How do you deal with that?
I think it's a sign of victory when everybody gets personal because they know that your logic is something they can't fight. So they start attacking you on a personal basis. But yes, first of all, I'd like to say, Priya, that this is one of my favorite shows. I love, I love being here. And I think it's great what women want. Finally, somebody's talking about it, thinking about it. Way back when I started my television career, I started a show like that, the women's show, and we talked about it. It was all women's crew way back, and full marks to you. Nirja ji is somebody whose book I'm still reading, and I really admire the painstaking work and research and consistency that she has. Some of us lack that, so we admire that quality. It's so more often than not, it is about your looks, your age, whether you're married or not, who your husband is, how many children you have or don't have, and if you don't have, then why don't you have? And it's always, even in the party office or outside, this is what it's all about. And party can only represent what the public space is like, right? It's just representative of who we are as a people. So party is just like a political unit of other social units, so to speak. So yes, it is very often about what you look like and your age, and there's so many comments when you gain weight or lose weight, and I don't think men have to contend with. Even as anchors, men were allowed to go graying and whatever, but women were made to, it was always about youth and beauty. So there's a whole patriarchal thing that with women it's always about youth and beauty, and men, they're defined by power and money. So I think that is changing now. And I feel great when I read about strong women, and as Nirja ji is saying, I was in Chittaranjan Park yesterday and day before, and if you see the puja pandals, that is freedom. And you see so many women by themselves having a great time. So that indeed is emancipation to a great degree. But politics is going to take a while.
But let's talk about politics and the BJP in particular. We discussed the Congress, but do you think the BJP is even more feudal and patriarchal than the Congress? We have certain women cabinet ministers, but how free are they? How much are there for tokenism? How much are there for actual, they're allowed to do what they want as much as their male counterparts?
Well, if you talk to top, even the BJP women, I think the younger generation is different, but the senior women, some of them, yes, you got a sense, I'm talking of years ago. You got a sense, yes, it is more feudal, more patriarchal in their responses, including male politicians. I think things are changing now. And I would say that the BJP, as also the Congress, they are giving a lot of things to women by way of social welfareism. Free tickets in the bus, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and so many other things that we know of. That so much money every month, and state governments are doing it. But the point is not, as somebody has said, one of the politicians, the point is not sahuliyat for women. The point is satta mein shirkat. Will they be allowed to participate in the country's politics? And the BJP, I would say also, even though the women's reservation bill was brought, as Supriya was saying, and I absolutely agree with her, to link it with delimitation, which is supposed to take place in 2026. If it will take place, we still don't know on time. But given the response of the southern states to delimitation and the anger and agitation they are already experiencing, that the numbers from their states in parliament will decrease because of their population having gone down in comparison to the northern states. UP will get more seats, the southern states, their number will lessen. Will they allow this to go through? Will it run into litigation? And And I think if truth be told, it's very unlikely that that women's reservation bill will see the light of day in 2029 or even in 2034 if that's the reality. Therefore, why link the whole thing to that? And I want to quote Sushma Swaraj, who told me this herself. You know, till the turn of the century, women didn't want reservations. They didn't want their due through this route of affirmative action. They wanted to come to power and to positions on their own steam. But when they saw, and Sushma ji said this, when I was on the election committee, I realized how systematically women had been kept out. And that story continues till today. And I say, you know, quoting from, you know, these Lapta ladies, which is a lovely film now nominated to the Oscars 2025, you know, this one of the characters said, it's the biggest fraud, ye fraud hai women ke against, keeping them out. And I think so true. And the BJP is very much part of that whole system, that ecosystem to keep women out as much as possible. Otherwise, 75 साल में 5% से 13%. What could be a bigger fraud?
Yeah, I'd like to answer. So first of all, I mean, for the first time under Prime Minister's stewardship, we see that women actually is the center of every welfare scheme. Whether it's about toilets, who nobody spoke about. That was one of the big reasons why I was so impressed by Modi ji. For the first time, somebody spoke about toilets.
What about the reservations?
No, I'm coming to reservations, and I will come to that. But this is what I want to say. If you want me to talk about reservations, I'll talk about it first. As far as reservations are concerned, it is our party which actually was never opposed to it. It was the other parties which are now part of Indie Bloc. Nirja ji would know all about that, who avoided that and who kept it on the back burner, whether it was Sharad Yadav ji of yesteryears or others, so to speak, or Lalu Prasad Yadav. Now BJP brought it, and why delimitation? How else would you decide which seats would go to women in this present elections? Wouldn't the bastions of whoever owns that, so who would decide that? Would it be pick of lots? So unless and until there's delimitation and it's marked by an agency apart from any party, there would be chances of, and they would talk about some kind of fraud being done as against Congress or whatever. So this was the only way it could be brought in. There was no other way. And I want to talk about other things which really matter. You know, something, I mean, if you just look at the sheer numbers of toilets that we have. I remember going by Shatabdi or Gomti. I'm from Kanpur, and I made my way to Delhi from there. And it's very tough because not just politically, but even at home and, you know, the immediate society from where you come from. And there would be rows of men and women defecating. And that was a scene that really, that affected me. And when I was in Mascom Jamia, I wanted to do a play on that, you know. I mean, defecation and how demeaning it can be and how you risk. So this is just one of the things. Actually going to Haryana, going to the areas of Mewat and others and talking about Beti Bachao. And actually seeing an adverse sex ratio get better. That is a great deliverable. Okay. It's one thing to talk about, you know, all the, I mean, I will not go work against it, about what happens with women on television, and that's very valid. I'm the first one who fought a case, I mean, registered a case, first woman to register a case in the cyber security against the filthy stuff that I was being called when I left Aam Aadmi Party. It was really dirty and smutty, I would say, and I actually chose to speak about it and file a case. So nothing came out of it because people changed their IDs. But you have to speak up. You know, you don't have to say, oh, I'm going to accept it. I'm never going to accept it. But this is the only party which has made a woman as a center of every welfare policy. I mean, knowing the Prime Minister so well, we have internal briefings. I mean, and even as a party member, I tell you, Sushma Swaraj ji, way back, in short, there would be 33% of office bearers would be women. That's an internally. So we've always had many women in the party at various positions of power.
Now, you spoke about Sushma Swaraj. I want to talk about Nija, the BJP from Vajpayee's days to Modi's, Prime Minister Modi's now. Has it shed the tag of being a very patriarchal, that whole mindset? Is it looking to you, at least in terms of optics, a more progressive party?
No, I think there is a change from Vajpayee days to now. There's certainly much more attention given to women, programs for women. There's no doubt. I mean, toilets, and I remember the first 15th August speech of the Prime Minister when he spoke about women's toilets. And I remember writing, you know, as watching and writing, and I put down my pen. I said, my God, toilets for women, he's talking on Independence Day. Yeah. And yes, there are those, but as I said earlier, Sahuliyat has its place, yes. But Satta mein Shirkat is a different ball game.
Nirja ji, when you look at Nirmala Sitharaman as a finance minister and earlier defense minister, now of course Smriti ji has lost, but as a strong power, speaking their minds, I think it's a very different image than having women there only because of their last family names. So women who made it, you know, and they have enough in BJP, in Congress and everywhere, and that should not be held against them because it's not held against the men. So similarly, it should not be held against them. But I really think that, you know, to have the top 5 ministries, to have a woman minister there on her own merit, without any godfathers, without a big name. In fact, her husband very often disagrees with her. Yes. And you know what is so impressive, and I'll tell you, there was an internal briefing and Amit Shah ji was sitting there, and we were just discussing this, and some journalist asked him this question. And you know what he said? He said that, so a woman can't have a separate opinion from her husband. Just because her husband says this doesn't mean she has to agree. So her husband has his own opinion, and Nirmala ji, and that was so telling. So this is what the party is about internally too. I mean, this was a conversation going on. So despite the family name, I would say that heading one of those key 5 top ministries is quite something, I think.
That is true. In fact, I would agree with you on that. But thank you so much for coming and having this very candid conversation. And thank you, Nija, also for sharing your views and helping me moderate this. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.